to play baseball, the right way to play baseball. You know, new era of baseball have gotten away from that. But, yeah, just good baseball the way around, using those flags, you know.
Yeah, I think every season has a spurt where it sucks, and then every season has a spurt where it's unbelievable. And I think we're hitting the spurt that sucks, and I think we're going to hit the spurt that's unbelievable, you know. I think our second half is going to show who we are as a team, our ability to bounce back and really be that band of brothers together. So just have faith in us.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Marty Time TV in the Section 1904 podcast. I am Marty Caswell. That is Darren Smith, and that is AJ Cassavell. We are brought to you, I think it's Thursday, by the all-new Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. How is everybody doing today on this fine Thursday? Heading into a big old weekend. How are we doing, guys?
Yeah, good. World Cup's back. So, soccer on.
Yeah. Survived Wednesday
Unlike
without
yesterday.
it.
It was like, yeah, what do we even do?
I know.
Brutal.
I know, brutal. All right, guys. I have a question I want to ask you both about Christian Pulisic towards the end of the show, but just a couple more days until the All-Star break, which the Padres need. You guys heard that open. That was Fernando Tatis saying, you know, we did the little things, all right? And then Jackson Merrill saying our best is ahead. AJ, I'm going to ask you a question. Why did the Padres get away from doing the little things? Like, what was the reasoning behind that?
Well, because they didn't really pitch. Like, I don't know if it's the little things as much as, like, if you're giving up 5 runs in the first 3 innings every game, you're going to lose games. And it's going to be harder to do the little things because you're going to probably try and focus on doing the big things. Like, I don't think this was like a lack of fundamentals and a breakdown that led to their 8-game losing streak. There were a couple things here and there, like Jake Cronenworth doesn't make that error, like they win a game, or I don't know, maybe something goes different in that first game in Chicago, they win that game. But, like, I don't know, errors happen, mistakes happen. The losing streak was not the product of, like, the Padres not being fundamentally sound. It was the product of their pitching not being good enough, and when it was good enough, their hitting not being good enough. Like, pretty basic stuff. So I just think that I don't know. It's I hear what those guys are saying, but they're not gonna get to where they need to get to until they figure out some things in their rotation.
I don't have much to add here other than like putting a lot of stock in a post-game commentary, win or lose, is sometimes not really a good use of time. No offense, guys. I know it's kind of
totally
the industry that you are in, but
my lifeblood, Darren.
Yeah.
Post-game commentary.
And
I don't know.
And you know, sometimes I think, you know, you can almost see players sort of searching for the words to just get people to shoo away. I don't think it really had much to do with anything about little things. It just is like, hey, we're playing okay against the Diamondbacks, and it's worked out for us. And we took advantage of a situation where there's a rookie pitcher who got a little bit rattled.
Yep.
And we were able to capitalize offensively. So, yeah, I don't know. Better than losing, though. I've kind
of equated it to, like, in terms of just, like, player commentary after games and what to read into it. There have been times where I've been frustrated with, like, 2021 and 2023 come to mind with kind of like the lack of, like, man, this has imploded. What do we like let's time to take responsibility for it and it not happening. But I also equate it to, like, it's a 162 game season. So, like, every loss is not the end of the world. Each loss is not a bad thing. It's like, one thing I'm envious of, and I don't really watch the NFL very, very deeply, but one thing I'm envious of is, like, after each game, like, you have a reckoning. You either won the game or you lost the game. And it's the same thing in, I don't know, in soccer, maybe not so much in basketball and NHL because every single team makes those playoffs. But, like, you have a reckoning after every game. Baseball doesn't have that. It would be the equivalent of, like, going down in the clubhouse and interviewing every single player after each drive. After, like, hey, what went wrong on that drive? And they're like, well, what? I mean, like, we went 3 and out, but, like, it's just one drive. Who cares? And so, like, I get that all the time. It's a long season. It's a process, and, like, they lost 8 in a row, but each of those games individually did not sink their season.
You know what I find interesting, and I was thinking about this morning, not expecting us really to talk about it because Marty's in charge of the direction of conversation. But I keep thinking about some of the criticism that we are seeing for Craig Stammen for his press conference demeanor, and wondering exactly how important any of that is. And, you know, is it, isn't it? And I said this the other day, AJ. I don't know if you're up to speed on my own personal situation, or if you're wondering, does that guy have a black eye? What's going on there? Like, I had a bike accident, and I've got a broken orbital bone and stitches in my face.
Oh no.
And, I can joke about that stuff because that's how I'm naturally programmed. Like, I can joke about, I had a meeting yesterday, went out to SDFC, and I said, hey, thank you for putting up with my deformed face for a few, like that's sort of just how I am. I find there to be some sort of opportunity to joke or laugh about almost any situation. And I keep thinking about some of the criticism you see of Craig Stammen. A lot of this I see, I think, oftentimes when Marty posts videos or other videos posted. And it's like, why is he laughing? Why is he smiling? This team is losing. He should be angry. I keep thinking to myself, how much are we overanalyzing this? You know what I mean? Like,
too much.
I understand why somebody maybe who's not around it all the time would say that, but it goes back to exactly what you said. You do this every day. I mean, you do this every day, which is probably too much. If we're being honest, no offense, guys. Again, it's probably too much. And if Craig Stammen is going to turn into a different person there, then that's probably not the reason why they hired him in the first place. So I don't mean to turn this into a whole conversation about what is the value of commentary from players immediately after a game. Oftentimes it's really good. Like, you get really, really good stuff sometimes because guys are at their most raw and their most natural and they're emotional. And you learn, you're like, wow, good or bad, highs, lows, all that. But oftentimes too, especially in the sport, it just feels like it lends itself to steering in a direction maybe that's not the actual avenue of truth, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I don't think it at all. I don't care what Craig Stammen's demeanor is post game. I think it matters if if he's not striking the right demeanor in the clubhouse with his players, if he's too happy and they're all pissed off. But I don't get that that's the sense. I really don't think it matters. It's like some of these post-game press conferences can be there's two, like you said, I think there's just two parts of it. There's a performative part of it. There's questions that get asked and get answered and it's somewhat performative. And then there's the learning what happened, learning the details behind what's going on. And that's the value of it for me. And none of that has to do with with whether the manager's I don't want Craig Stammen changing who he is. He was hired to be Craig Stammen, the manager. And that's not a guy that's going to go out and or table and why ask for that? That's not what you hired.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't mean to take it in a different direction. It's just kind of bizarre.
I kind of appreciate it. I kind of appreciate it because it is a long baseball season, and there's only one way to get through it is to kind of
everybody wants to
be able to have some perspective.
Hey guys, hey fellas, girl, how are you guys doing today? Such a polite individual. All right, guys.
And by the way, it also probably has nothing to do with his ability to manage.
No.
Right? However he presents himself in a post-game press conference, from experience here, has very little to do with how he actually manages the baseball.
Okay, let me ask you this question. Is Craig Stammen a good manager? Do we know if he is he a good manager? Forget the demeanor, forget what he says. That does not, you're both exactly right. That does not matter at all. If he's kicking over tables, our Padres fans yes, that's our guy. He's mad. Is Craig Stammen right? Is Craig Stammen a good manager?
I think we're still learning that. I think there have been signs that he could be. I also think he's kind of learning on the job. That's what you get when you hire a guy that's never managed at any level before.
Yeah.
One of the things I've appreciated about him is that he's willing to learn. He's willing to kind of see some of his mistakes. I think there was a time early in the season he was a little too kind of quick with he left some guys in a little too long and wasn't doing the right things in the bullpen. He kind of sort of said as much a couple days later and adjusted. If he's willing to adjust, he's willing to learn. The problem there is he's got to learn on the fly. He's a first-time manager.
Okay, you guys see my ticker down there, all right? I'm sorry. It says the clock is ticking on the MLB trade deadline. What changes lie ahead for the Padres? I want to go ahead and start there. I mean, as Darren mentioned in a previous show, a lot of times when teams might make some sort of changes, it could happen during the All-Star break. It could happen right after. Do either of you expect any sort of changes to come to this team in the course of the next week?
You mean coaching changes?
Sure. Anything at all.
I have no real insight on this, so I would only be guessing. I don't want to make it seem like I have any insider information because I do not.
Okay.
I want to be careful. I do think to what Marty just said, yeah, if you're going to make a change, maybe the break is a time where you evaluate some things. But I think they also have the draft upcoming, if I'm not mistaken. Forgive me for not having that committed to memory, but I would just say it's not going to surprise me if they do. But I don't have any insider info on that. And plus, I think what happens if you finish out this week and all of a sudden you finish and you feel like, the pendulum is swinging in the right direction, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, finally we're getting, some of the results that we were hoping for with the staff. Like is that like an own goal, right? Like, do you shoot yourself in the foot if you make a change, if you end up on a real high note here and you get to the Diamondbacks and the Toronto Blue Jays and you're actually feeling somewhat good about yourself and people are saying and writing nice things about you, that you've turned a corner or what have you, whether you have or haven't will be determined. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, that could be a little bit of a risk there, but I suppose, my cop-out answer is to wait and see what happens over the next 4 days.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned the draft. Like that is coming up. Like that is the focus, and that's like it's not something that I'm particularly locked into. I don't know who the mocks have going to the Padres. Probably a high school left-hander, if I had to guess. But
great guess.
Get them all you can.
It's clearly important. Like that's how the Padres replenish their system after making the trades that they have, and that is where the front office's whole focus should be right now. So I think like. Finish out the break. You get to the break, and if they can go 3-1 these next few games, finish the first half over 500. The schedule in the second half, a lot more Colorado, San Francisco, a lot less Atlanta, LA. Like so, I think there's some like positives to the way the schedule shakes out. I'm not saying like they're going to definitively make a playoff run, but I think getting through, weathering this storm without panic is not the worst idea.
AJ, your colleague on MLB.com, Mark Feinstein, has a headline. There's no way the Padres would actually trade Miller, right? Of course, referring to Mason Miller. I'm thinking like in the past, the course week, especially starting with that terrible, wretched 8-game losing streak, seen a lot more dialogue from people saying that the Padres should trade Mason Miller, will trade Mason Miller. What's your take on this? Do you think that after everything AJ Preller gave up, his firstborn son, Leo DeVries, is he inclined to trade Mason Miller? I mean, would they have to?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think everything would have to completely fall off the rails. I would encourage everyone to go read that piece. It's pretty insightful. It's got some comments from rival executives. And general managers. But like things would have to completely go off the rails. They're 4.5 games back now, and it's possible they do. Like this pitching staff is not very good, and if the Padres are 7.5, 8.5 back, the Marlins are playing some awesome baseball right now.
Yeah.
Then you absolutely have to consider it. You're just not going to get Leo DeVries back because the only person who's willing to trade Leo DeVries for Mason Miller is AJ Preller. Like we learned that at last year's deadline. So like you have to be willing to accept that, even though Mason Miller's value is probably as high as it'll ever be because he's better than he was last year. You might be losing something, but you're going to get something in return. And Mason Miller has 3 more years after this one, and the Padres are going to get him for 3 years. Whatever team they would be trading him to would be getting him for 4 years. That means he's more valuable to them than he is to the Padres. So in theory, you're going to get something good. That's only going to happen if the Padres are way out of it. That's kind of my thought on Mason Miller because he is. Like, one thing I know, having covered AJ Preller, having spoken to AJ Preller, is that he covets, like, elite talent. Like, that's kind of how he views the prism of his roster is, like, what I want is guys that are elite at what they do. And now you can ask if he's been brilliant at evaluating that all the time, and sometimes he has been, sometimes he hasn't been. But Mason Miller, he has been, and I know for a fact he wants to kind of keep that going where it is. We also know he loves building super bullpens. And how are you going to have a super bullpen without that guy?
Here's your, I'm far removed from sports talk radio, but not that far removed that I can't come up with one of these, impossible questions to answer. So who's more likely to be traded from this year at the trade deadline? Who's more likely to be traded by AJ Preller? Mason Miller or Ethan Salas?
Salas.
Because obviously we're
Salas.
making a bet on where the team is headed over the next.
Completely. Yeah. If they're 3.5 games out, Ethan Salas. If they're 8.5 games out, Mason Miller.
So
where's the line? I don't
think
know.
They're more likely to be 3.5 out than 8.5 out.
Right now they're 4.5 out. There's a hurdle of teams to go ahead and climb over.
There's a lot of
bunch
teams
of tiebreakers that they've lost.
Every tiebreaker. I mean, they haven't faced them all.
We're going to learn a lot.
So
That Atlanta Miami trip is going to be a big one, and I didn't see that Miami series being a big one. I'm glad I'm going to it because that could shape a lot of things.
Yeah. See, that's a good question. I still got my my sports radio chops there. Who's more likely to be traded?
What do you think?
Probably Salas. You know, I was thinking about this also, and maybe I'm still concussed. Have we seen a sell-off from Preller? Now, we remember the flurry that happened when he first got here, and he sold off a bunch of people to bring in guys like Matt Kemp and Will Middlebrooks and all those kind of people. But have we seen a midseason sell-off? I don't really remember one where he's traded.
2016 was like, it was a complete reversal of what 2015 was, and at that deadline, he traded away Kemp and Upton and like basically everyone they had. But it's not like they didn't have a whole lot. But he replenished the farm system in a few weeks. Got Paddock for Rodney, got Tatis for Shields. Like I would count that as a sell-off.
Right? Very famously, the Drew Pomerantz thing with the
Pomerantz trade,
medicals and stuff, right?
Yeah. So I would count that as a sell-off. But it's been 10 years since we've seen AJ Preller sell off. It's clearly not what he wants to do. Like even in 2023, and I've used this example a lot when talking about this team. Even in 2023, when they were, I think, 5.5 back at the deadline, he didn't want to sell. Now, there's a humongous difference between that team and this team, I think, because I think that team, you could look at them and be like, this team, if they get going, could make the playoffs and make a run in the playoffs. Like that team was talented enough. They could do nothing, and then if they made up that gap, made the playoffs, they could have made a run. This team can't do that. Like they have to do something. Like if they're not going to sell, then they have to buy because they're not good enough to get where to win in the postseason. They need to buy a starter and another bat. So that's kind of the conundrum here.
AJ, I'm sorry, and AJ and Darren, if AJ Preller is to go ahead and sell, is it to retool? You have some pieces for next year, or do you think it's to dramatically just overhaul just the look of the organization?
More likely a retool, or just not. He's not going out and trading for guys in single A like he did in 2016. Like I think it would be younger. Like it would be younger big leaguers or AAA kind of like on the cusp. Like let's get younger. Let's kind of build the foundation for a different kind of roster next season. And this is again, I only think this is happening if they lose several more games in the next couple weeks. So I really think this is all contingent on where the roster sits. Like there's every outcome is possible here.
And some of that, AJ, I would think is probably your own in-house honest evaluation of where you feel like Joe Musgrove and Nick Pivetta are in terms of the possibility of them coming back. Now, I've just seen some clips on social media of Joe Musgrove throwing a baseball and Pivetta doing some stuff. Do you both, since you're around it, do you sense that there is like authentic optimism about these guys coming back, or just like, I don't know, guess we'll see?
Yeah, it's definitely not optimism. It's just kind of like we will see what we get, but not knowing what you're going to get from them before the trade deadline is a big deal. You need starting pitching. You can cross your fingers and hope that they're both back and they're both themselves, but the Padres aren't counting on both of those guys coming back. Like it's probably not a matter of them coming back. I think it's likely that both of them pitch again this season, but having missed the whole season and just being thrown into a pennant race, like when they pitch again, are they going to be? Is Nick Pivetta going to be sixth place Cy Young finisher Nick Pivetta? Is Joe Musgrove going to be dominant playoff Joe Musgrove that we saw in 22, 24? Like, I don't think so. I don't think that just happens right away. So that's probably where the more honest evaluation is. I think the Padres need to kind of plan for at most one of those guys being an effective pitcher. And if they're gonna try and win this year, if they're going to set themselves up to buy at the deadline, they need to get a starting pitcher or two.
If the Padres,
so we're back to trading Ethan Salas.
Yeah, that's the guy.
You don't have to trade Ethan Salas to get a starting pitcher. Like it doesn't have to be an ace. It could be a number 3, number 4. So I still don't. I think it's more likely than not they don't trade Ethan Salas.
Right.
Significantly so.
Right. Just my very leading, typical media ambush question.
That's a good question.
Yeah. Feel free to use it. I mean, it's free for everybody.
If you can look at the nuance of like. I don't think either of them are being traded, but who's more likely?
Yeah, Schoolcraft.
more likely than Ethan Salas.
Crew Schoolcraft. Like, I'm at a point now, like when the Padres have their the Zoom with the draft pick and their first pick, I don't even do them anymore because I'm never gonna cover you for the Padres. So what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have that feeling too. But I genuinely I get that same feeling. I just kind of like those because it's always nice to talk to a kid who's realizing his dreams and like kind of before baseball's hard. It's before they've all been beaten down by like just how hard it is. And it's the one part of the summer that I look forward to because it's just a happy thing, I think.
By the way, I mean, so many people talk about Mason Miller, obviously, who has the most value, and I think we all appreciate that and understand that. But I mean, I would think a guy like an Adrian Morejon should have come to that. Also carries with him some significant value as well, right? I mean,
yeah,
we're not that far removed, and maybe he's not exactly a Aroldis Chapman, but I do remember Aroldis Chapman getting Gleyber Torres, I want to say, back from the Cubs.
Yep.
2016, somewhere in that range. So maybe, it's not a Leo DeVries type, but it doesn't carry zero. That's a guy who I think Jason Adams now down again, so I'm not really sure. Plus he's aging. If you're really, really reluctant and just putting value, just being like, hey, I can't give away Mason Miller. But like a guy like AJ Morejon should have come to that. I would think AJ, even on an expiring contract, would probably bring something pretty good back for the Padres.
He's awesome. He's a lefty that throws 100 and throws strikes. Like he should get you a lot if you decide to trade Adrian Morejon. They don't want to. Adrian Morejon loves being a Padre. The Padres love Adrian Morejon. But if they're again, this all comes back to where they are. They have to consider it a lot more if they're out of the playoff picture looking in, because again, this is not a roster that is going to make a run unless they upgrade. And if you're in a position where your playoff odds are like 5%, you're not going to upgrade. And Adrian Morejon's a free agent after the season. So who's more likely, Morejon or Miller? Like Morejon, significantly so. Again, this is all contingent on whether the Padres are in the playoff picture, are well out of it. But I would you're going to get a lot for a guy like Adrian Morejon if you're selling. And there's a couple other guys like that. Michael King is if they're then these are all ifs. Like I have to qualify all these with if, but we'll learn in the next 3 weeks. None of this is going to happen, I don't think, until early August, because the Padres are going to want all the information they have on their current roster, and they're currently injured guys too. Yeah,
it's going to take a lot. You said 5% or so, just for what it's worth. Fangraphs today has 12%. Baseball Reference is 14% in terms of playoff odds.
It's funny.
I would say it's higher than that. Like I would put it at 20. Just the vibes. My Padres playoff vibes percentage.
At 20%. Okay, 20%. This is going to be a weekly conversation with you two. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and check your playoff vibe for the thermometer, and we'll see if it's rising or dropping. Jeff Pass on ESPN had a piece today about what all the contending teams should trade for, right? And the Padres, he did not write anything in the Padres, so I'm guessing he has them. His playoff vibe thermometers below 20%.
In the hunt.
Are they even in?
They're the classic standings in the hunt.
Get to 500. Maybe no.
They're 500.
I mean, I know they're 500. I mean, just tread water around 500 as you go into the break. See what happens.
They were 500 in 2024 at the break.
Yeah.
And they were 50-50 and ended up winning 93 games. So they have it. Well, I shouldn't say they have it in them. They don't have that in them. They're not going to win 93 games. They don't have enough pitching for that. But they do have it in them to make a run and pass the Marlins and pass the Nationals. I think that's very possible. Maybe not very possible. 20% possible, as I said earlier.
That Marlins series, man. That Marlins series, that to me is going to shape the Padres, AJ Preller's trade destination, his trade path. The Marlins series.
I've watched some games at that ballpark that have been just sad. Very empty, and games that didn't really matter. Mm-hmm. I remember Chris Paddock carrying a no-hitter into the 7th against the Marlins in 2018 or something, and it was that Padres team versus that Marlins team. That is going to be – I can't wait. I can't wait to cover a really important playoff series with playoff implications in Miami. That'll be awesome.
I thought these were teams that weren't allowed to compete in this completely unfair financial structure, but I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. Maybe we should get the Scotland fans back in there. That was a lot of fun. Just watching European soccer fans take over baseball parks. That was amazing. It was nice, awesome. Unintended quality scenes from the World Cup.
Yes. Convergence of two things I love.
Yes.
You guys ready to move on to
Yes.
a little bit of World Cup? I think now AJ had this comment. What were we talking about after was it USA was eliminated? All right, go ahead. AJ Cassavell, do you have an opening statement on the World Cup with your teams being bounced?
Well, I mean, the USA, I think that's been litigated and relitigated and relitigated.
Do you feel different
not much
now?
to add there. Egypt is the one I'm aggrieved about.
Okay, I'm going to go back to Egypt in a second, but do you guys feel different? There's been a lot of consternation, a lot of angst on Christian Pulisic. Does anybody feel differently because he has like a broken leg or microfracture or whatever, or deep bruise about him subbing out?
I think a lot of people had opinions on him that don't really know what they're talking about. So, me personally, no.
I asked that because I remember in 2014 when the USA lost to Belgium and Chris Wondolowski missed a sitter. And there was very little commentary about Chris Wondolowski, right? It's almost like life just moved on the next day. And I remember thinking to myself, we have not arrived as a proper footballing nation, as a proper soccer country, because Chris Wondolowski is allowed to live his life like nothing happened. And now here we are, fast forward 12 years later, Christian Pulisic had a bad World Cup. Forget about the game against Belgium. That was part of it. But he had a bad World Cup, and he's getting a lot of criticism, and from places that you wouldn't normally expect it. Like a lot of shows that I don't watch, but that pop up on the timeline.
The hot take show. The
take
shows?
Vortexes.
Okay.
All of them. Stephen A. Smith, Dave Portnoy, all these people have opinions about Christian Pulisic. Now, you're right. The detail comes out today. There's a hairline fracture in his leg. And, okay, so he wasn't asking out or begging out of the game like some people had thought. But, fact is that this guy has missed a significant amount of time in this World Cup. And the numbers are the numbers for how many games overall he's been impacted by some sort of injury. And part of the reason why I didn't want to play in the Gold Cup was so that he could be ready to play in the World Cup, right? So all of these things are sort of lumped in. But I will admit, there is part of me, as much as I wince at some of the criticism and where it is coming from and some of the commentary, not that I want to be a gatekeeper on soccer commentary, AJ, but there is part of me that's like, wow, like we're having a lot of people from a lot of different places have opinions about this sort of stuff. And I don't know that they're any less educated about soccer than they are about the NFL or the NBA or Major League Baseball when they jump into those subjects. But I do find it interesting that maybe just because it's a home soil World Cup that we're getting a lot of people chiming in on this from places that I might not have expected it 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this team resonating. Like they resonated. Like this team resonated to people who weren't soccer fans. So that in that sense, it's a good thing. Like the hot takery is that's just a problem I have in general. That's not like a soccer related thing. Like talking and having opinions, like strongly held, loud opinions on subjects you don't really understand that deeply is something that a lot of people do in sports media. And it is the thing that I hate the most about sports media. Like I don't claim there's sports I don't claim to know much about. I wouldn't have hot takes on the NFL. I wouldn't have hot takes on, I don't know, UFC. It has bothered me the amount of people, and we don't need to go into the Balogun situation, but the amount of people who don't understand like the details of why it's happening and why people are upset about it. And like even outside of the political realm, just like you got a red card, you get suspended for the next match. And people who don't seem to understand like that's just the rule. That's just the way it is. Anyway, I digress a little bit, but I just think that like that has been one of the problems I have had with this World Cup is the loudness, but that's just a problem I have with sports in general is the loudness of opinions from people who don't know much about what they're talking about.
Right.
And
but what's interesting,
put me in that bucket on a lot of things.
But it is happening about this sport, which is new. And there is a piece of
that's very new in this country.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to lose, and I don't think that like those of us that are like, well, we've been talking about this forever. Who are these other people jumping in? I don't want to gatekeep. I really don't. There is part of me that's like, what is Clay Travis talking about? But there's another part of me that's like, well, like bringing a lot of attention to this.
It's a good thing.
Is it? I'm sort of torn on this. I'm a bit torn on this. I agree. It went totally sideways on the Balogun stuff. The Balogun stuff, to me, I think, that became such an insular subject that people had no understanding of what this meant globally and what this meant for these players. I felt so bad for Florian Balogun. I felt bad for him because he handled that suspension
how could you not?
Incredible grace and understood it because he plays this sport and has played the sport for his entire life. And he has a much more global understanding of the sport. Whereas a lot of people that jumped into that conversation tried to draw comparisons to like baseball, like a pitcher, who throws a baseball at another player is like, oh, I'm going to appeal that, we're going to go to court over this. And like, that's not the way the sport's often run. I feel bad for him because he's got to go back and he's got to play in Europe. And Europe, like as a governing body, is furious. Still, like the result of the game has not changed anybody's temperament about this not just like appearance of corruption, but like corruption that existed with the lifting of the suspension. And I feel bad for that player that he's got to go back and play in France where he's going to be treated like a villain because he didn't do anything to deserve this. And I think some of those players understood it, and I think it did have an impact on the game. Now, I also think Belgium showed up and played the best game of the tournament by far. So, credit to Belgium. They whooped us a couple weeks ago. So, there's a lot that went into it. But, in terms of back to where we started with all of this, like, I don't know. I mean, part of me is sort of like, wow, look at all these people that have opinions about the sport. Even if they're stupid opinions, it doesn't stop them from having opinions about other things in sports. And, it sort of adds to the, the popularity of the other leagues in this country. So I'm not sure if it's such 100% a negative. It's just interesting to see it happen here because it's never happened quite like this before.
I think in the grand scheme, good thing. It's a good thing that people are caring deeply about it. So
again, I
see where that goes.
I'm like Wondolowski. He's a nice guy, but like, God, he missed like the easiest shot ever, and in a massive game.
If he had missed that. If that was the situation against Belgium, the game played out the same way it did in 2014, and whoever it was missed it, like Wondolowski or whoever would be getting roasted right now. And like, I don't know if I necessarily want that, but like that's kind of what that moment deserved. Like that was the U.S.'s best chance since 2002 to get to the quarterfinals.
That has happened to Lionel Messi. You know what I mean? Like it's not always been this love affair with Lionel Messi. Leo Messi really got dragged, and he got dragged by a more popular player at the time in Diego Maradona. So, like, he's had to go through that sort of stuff. Not everybody has had a career like Cristiano Ronaldo where he's just put up on some sort of pedestal. Messi was there's a lot of fans that really were a lot of Argentine fans who were anti-Messi. So, I don't know. I mean,
yeah, I'm still just never going to condone, like the way fans act sometimes and the way it can devolve into hatred and, like, anger. And so, like I don't want that out of this. I don't want Christian Pulisic's life to be ruined because he played a poor few games. But like I also want us to be able to be like, man, he played a poor few games. Why didn't this team achieve more? Like we sat here and I think Marty asked us what a good World Cup would be. I said round of 16 bare minimum, but round of 8 is what they should be. Like that's a good World Cup. They didn't get there, and they missed by a wide margin based on that game. And it's like. And you can say, like, the talent on this roster is a round of 16 talent, which I've seen, like, that's been kind of the pushback from some European writers that are like, why is this country so upset? Like, that's the talent level of this roster. And it's because, like, when are they ever going to have a better chance to get to the quarterfinals or maybe even the semifinals? When are they ever going to, like, the next World Cup, you wouldn't expect it to, like, they're at home. They have that advantage. They're playing Belgium in Seattle. Like, one thing I got from a lot of friends who were kind of just checking into the sport when we got roasted by Belgium was like, wow, they're good, and like we just came up. No, like Belgium is not that good. I watched the whole Belgium-Iran game, and if you had told me that we would lose by 3 goals to that team, I would have been like, that's a debacle, and it was a debacle. So
and pissing down our legs the whole time too.
Yeah,
that's the other part. Like I mean, Belgium just came out of the gate like they were fired out of a cannon. And the other part is it feels like a missed opportunity because you mentioned home soil, like people around the world. For the World Cup, like genuinely you root for the hosts because it always feels like a better tournament, whether you have a team involved or not. it feels like it's a better tournament if there's a host involved. And I felt like people really kind of were like, oh, wow, the U.S. has got a little something there. Like, people like this team. And then all of a sudden.
And then,
like, it became through really, I don't think that they asked for any of this. I don't think they really requested any of this, but it's sort of just how it all shook out. And they ended up becoming a team that people wanted to see humiliated in that game, to the point where you had the Belgians, doing the dance on the field and posting all these social media clips. It's called football, not soccer, right? I mean, appeal this on their social media. Like, there was like a level. It just took such a 180. It really did. So I don't know. It was.
Did you have the international? You had the international soccer community kind of rooting against you just because of that phone call that was made.
But I felt like they were kind of like, oh, the U.S. is a cool story. Like, this is a fun story.
It was fun. It was fun energy.
In love with Belgium here,
likable cast.
Yeah.
And I would argue it's not just a phone call. It's like the red being overturned. Whatever led to it.
The arrogance of it all too.
Yeah, whatever led to it, like. That's not how it works, and the rest of the world understands that. And as soon as that happens, like however we got there, and there's been a lot said about how we got there, like that wouldn't have happened. That wouldn't have happened for another country, and that's just not.
Yeah, I mean,
fair.
proof
That's
in point
injustice.
today is England picked up a red card against Mexico, and not only is that going to be a 1-game suspension, it's a 2-game suspension, which will also fuel your theory that. If England gets through Norway, who's on the other side? Potentially Argentina. So, AJ, you can continue
hold
your...
on. My theory, I am not a conspiracy theorist here. I'm not the Egypt coach. I just had such a wonderful time in Vancouver with the Egypt fans, and I've been waiting for Mo Salah to have his moment, and it just has not come for him for a million reasons. 2018 World Cup, Ramos breaks his collarbone. 2022 World Cup. African qualifying is brutal and frankly kind of unfair, and they lose to Senegal in the final game to get there. He hasn't had his moment. He hasn't won a Ballon d'Or, even though I think he should have 2. And this kind of could have been it. And even though he's not the player he was, and I think they should have been up 3-0, and they were not because of a absurd VAR decision, which is what it is. And obviously, amazing comeback. I love Argentina. I had a wonderful time there on my honeymoon. But, man, that just should have been – from where I'm sitting, that should have been Egypt's moment.
I think at 2-0, though, they kind of bunkered anyway. So I don't know that they would have kept pushing. But we'll never know.
Maybe.
Honestly, we'll never know.
We'll never know.
I was rooting for Egypt at 2. I really was. I know Marty's getting very antsy here because she has to go. But I was rooting for – at 2, I was like –
you guys keep going.
When they get that goal chopped off, I'm like, I'm rooting for Egypt here. That's justice when they go back up 2.
Yeah.
And then with 10 minutes to go, I'm watching and going, holy cow, what are we watching here? We're watching one of the great performances ever over that final 11, 12 minutes. Come on, man. It was not a foul on Salah either. But I don't know.
No, it wasn't a foul on Salah. The goal being overturned is one of the worst calls I've ever seen.
I hate video. You guys all promote video reviews all the time. I hate it. I hate everything about it.
Who's you guys?
You.
I'm not. No. Get it out. Get Sports Back 2014.
Guy?
That's different, though. That's much
I think
different.
ABS is distinctly different.
And it's so quick. It's boom.
Subjective video and objective video.
Well, it is subjective. A strike zone is subjective.
No, it's not.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it is. It's an imaginary box.
And now we have. It's not imaginary. We have.
Of course it is.
Like we have heights and. No, it's not imaginary. It is a box. That starts at the knees and ends at whatever percentage of your body above the letters.
Oh my god!
No, it's literally written there. It's a math problem. It's this percentage of your height to this percentage of your height. By its definition,
a strike zone is an imaginary box.
It's not, but it's not imaginary in that we can quantify what the box is. The ABS is very different from. We can know whether it's ball or strike in a split second, so just call it that way as opposed to with an umpire. If we're going to be taking goals off the board for things that happen 100 yards away on the other side of the field that a guy had to dribble through 8 different Argentine defenders to get, like that is just patently different from a striker ball.
Awful. I grant you that, but I still think it's in the same neighborhood. It's imaginary box, my guy. Like they sort of changed the strike zone too. Like they're like, let's tweak this a little bit.
I just don't understand how it's different if an umpire is calling a strike based on what he sees or if an umpire is calling a strike based on whether his ear buzzes because it went through. I think it's very different if we're taking goals off the board because of what we saw happen, like because of something that happened way outside of play, or something that happened right before the play. Like you are ruining a moment.
Correct.
You are ruining a moment.
Yeah, and sports should be about moments.
The World Series this year is going to end on an ABS challenge.
Yeah, and AJ would be like, "Oh, this is great.
Yes, this is amazing."
I'm not ABS challenge. I'm not ABS. I want a fully automated strike zone. Like, and I don't think that's. Okay. I think that's.
Oh wow.
I don't know.
Like we're not stealing any moments. Nothing's changing because of a call on the board. But
okay. Just really, really quick on the World Cup. I am now officially rooting for House Black.
House of Black?
House Black. House of Black. You know what I'm talking. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Norway?
Yes. Yeah. Uncanny resemblance. Uncanny.
Yeah. He's Targaryen for sure.
Oh my gosh. We have.
Yeah. I like the whole like historical, significance. Is Marty's laundry did that just happen? I like the whole historical context too of like, 8th century Vikings going storming like England and stuff. So like there's just a lot that you could talk about with that game, but I think it's going to be tough for me to see anybody beating France at their best, but that's my final thoughts for the day.
I think Spain could. I think Spain could have the ball and frustrate them.
Yeah, I can see it.
I want Morocco to win. I think it's not out of the realm of possibility, but Morocco winning would be unbelievable.
I'm all about it. I just think France at their best. There's so much talent there. I mean, they got they got like 2-time European champs on the bench, like guys who are starters for PSG. They're like, we'll just call them in the 60th minute. It's how much talent they have.
Like Ryan Cherky was one of the best players in the Premier League this season, like when he was there, and he's like coming in for the final 5 minutes of games that don't matter.
Patino, the same thing. Like this guy's he's on the bench. Like what an embarrassment of riches for them. But been a fun tournament. All right, Marty.
Good stuff, guys. I appreciate you both. What we've learned now is the Padres are going to trade Ethan Salas, and you guys need to do an entire show on instant replay, ABS challenge, and all that fun stuff. Appreciate you both. That is AJ Cassavell. That's Darren Smith. I am Marty Caswell. Thank you so much for watching Marty Time TV and the Section 1904 podcast. We are brought to you by the all-new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. Have a great day. Let's go House Black. Peace out.
Didn't look good, didn't feel good, doesn't taste good. We're going to wash that one off quick and get back at it and get the focus and the attitude that we had even in LA.
But I think if anything, it should get guys to dig a little deeper and find something a little extra. I know it's July, but this is a super, super important stretch of our season, and this is when we need to dig deep the most.
It's been a weird year for everyone in this clubhouse, and